one.
Welcome to
How Does Society?
On today's episode, we're going to be talking about coping mechanisms.
I don't have any, and it's definitely not overeating. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Well, society is currently going through hell.
Yeah.
For many reasons, and mainly COVID, but there's others as well. Politics, idiots, war, all the above. And having healthy, productive coping mechanisms is very important.
Yeah.
Overeating is really not healthy or productive. I mean, it's fun.
Tastes good.
It's fun, but it's not good in any way because it costs money.
Well, not only does it cost money, but it's going to impact your health significantly. You'll end up with other disorders and have even more stress.
Yep.
So a lot of health.
It's a vicious circle. It's like, like fat bastard. I eat because I'm sad, and I'm sad because I eat,
Well, and the main problem with unhealthy coping mechanisms is most of the time you learn them when you're a child, and especially if you go through something traumatic, and you don't have anybody to, kind of help you, you just kind of go into whatever makes you feel good, and you just continue to do that because you're not getting certain things from your parents or family, things like that.
Or maybe
but how is food giving you love?
Because it's delicious. And it doesn't
It holds.
But no, I mean, it tastes good, and so that's going to create, your endorphins are like, hey, that's good, you should eat that, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, wow, is this what love is supposed to take? Chocolate cake is, chocolate can actually mimic the feeling of love.
Yes,
and
it has a similar response in your receptors, but it is fake.
Yes, but if you're not getting real love, chocolate love is the best you can do.
I suppose. However, it's only so there is a bit of a misconception there, because a lot of people think that milk chocolate is capable of doing that, and it isn't. It's only real chocolate. I think it has to be higher than 70% cacao in order for it to actually do that. So everything you're feeling is just sugar addiction.
Cacao.
Well,
Cacao. Sorry, that's all I could think of. Like cocoa?
What kind of cacao is the actual name of the plant?
Oh, okay. Alright, I believe you.
Anyway, what kind of coping mechanisms do you have, Cody?
I don't think that I have. No, it's a lie. Video games.
Video games? That's how you cope with life?
That's how I cope with life because, I always really enjoy RPGs. So if I can live my life the way I want to, within reason, in another universe or in a game, fuck yeah.
Alright. Well, let's think about it. Is that healthy or is that unhealthy?
It depends on how you use it. Because I talk with my therapist about this, and she's like, if you're just doing it to relieve stress and get out of your own world for a while and escaping is fine. It's just you can't live there forever.
Right, and I would say we know people who have tried the escapism route and tried to live in that world where it's I don't want to go to work, I don't want to do anything. In fact, I don't even want to move out of my chair. I just want to sit here and play this game.
Right.
Just moderation.
Right.
Yes, using a video game to deal with stress, for instance, an FPS, just shooting things and blowing shit
up.
up.
For those of you who don't know, that's first-person shooter.
Just blowing things up for a while does release a lot of stress. But RPGs are a dangerous hole where you could literally waste your entire life.
Escapism, there's a fine line, and I walk it very closely. Because, you get lost to it for hours. But I also understand, I do need to go to work. I do have to face real life. So if I can escape for a couple of hours, it gets me through the day.
Yeah, and not just that, but just having the idea of, while you're at work miserable, you're like, when I get home, I'm going to play so hard. So yeah, that's slightly... Okay, so that's a lot better than food.
Well, okay, here's the thing. You can also do food in moderation. The problem is, I want to eat a whole cake in one sitting. versus a slice of cake.
Yeah, like, and there's, like, we've been watching YouTubers, like, that's all they do is, like, they go out and eat and they binge it and then they review it. You could turn your coping mechanism into a hobby.
However, the part they don't show you a lot of the time is those people work out like crazy in order to be able to eat that kind
And
of
don't they usually like fast and shit?
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
and even working out can be its own coping mechanism.
There you go.
For sure.
And it can also become unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's escapism again, and so that's kind of, I think that's gonna be the main line that we're gonna be talking about is how far is it coping and how much of it is just escaping and not dealing with your current
Right.
problems.
Well, and for exercise, I mean, I feel like it's kind of hard to use exercise as a coping mechanism negatively. I mean, yeah, maybe you go to the gym 3 hours every day and you're like always working out, always doing stuff, but that's still going to have some benefits. to
There's
the
a lot of
body.
people
But-
that live in the gym.
Right, but it also
Literally.
depends on
But
how
is
you
that
feel.
wrong?
Well, how do you feel about yourself?
Yeah.
Why are you doing it?
Well,
Those
and
are
it
the big
also
questions.
depends because, like, if you're only working out your arms and you're only doing 2 muscles, you're gonna lose that last muscle.
Right.
We've all seen the guys with the upper
Yeah.
bodies and the skinny chicken legs.
Mm-hmm.
And then it comes into, it's more of a body dysmorphia thing, so they start doing steroids. It has a dark side.
Right.
And that
I
comes
gotcha.
back to the whole point of,
But are they really using it to cope?
yes.
Yes. There are,
Okay.
especially men, a lot will find that if they work out, they
Mhm.
can work out a lot of aggression.
And then it releases endorphins
Mhm.
and it makes you feel happy.
Right, so then they're using that to cope, but those other ones you're talking about, that's more of a,
And
like
that's
you said,
that's
body
why I was saying
dysmorphic.
it's a straight line that between a coping mechanism and an escape.
Right, and just like eating food, you can have a line where it's like, you know what, I really want some chocolate ice cream, I'm feeling down, eat a little bit of ice cream, okay,
And
you know,
you're
I
fine.
feel better.
Mhm.
It comes down to when you want to eat the whole gallon.
Yes.
And just like,
So here I think we should define it a little bit better. So a coping mechanism doesn't fix an issue.
Right.
It literally just helps you be sane enough to
Yes.
deal with
it
the
helps
issue.
you process.
If your coping mechanism is preventing you from fixing the issue by making you forget that there's an issue because you're in la la land, it's bad.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Or if your coping mechanism is destructive or harmful to you or others. Like people who like killing people. That's a coping mechanism. And it's very negative. So
Yeah.
I mean,
I think the people that are mostly killing, like serial killers, are doing it because
it's
they
a
lack-
coping mechanism.
Is it? Or
Because
They
you
need
think-
it to get that release because they usually they don't feel anything and they get a feeling from doing that, from causing harm.
Johnny
And-
Cash, I hurt
Well-
myself today just to see if I could feel.
That's not a Johnny Cash song. That's from Nine Inch Nails and
he
fuck
covered
you.
it though.
He
so,
covered it.
but, just to like bring this back a little
And also,
bit,
it's about heroin addiction. It's not about fuck you. Just fuck you.
like,
I'm not.
Somebody's
done.
testy.
Wow.
Is that your
We'll
coping
look someone
mechanism?
up.
I'm ignoring you. That's my coping.
Yep.
Okay, bring it
But
back.
like, I don't think that you can say that killing people for a serial killer is a coping mechanism.
Why not?
Because
So,
a coping mechanism really is, right, something that helps you cope with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So strategies that people employ to help deal with situations. And
Exactly.
that's not...
I'm just gonna explain quick.
Okay.
You work in retail.
Uh-huh.
And you encounter a bunch of annoying, stupid people, and you think, "Wow, one less of these people would make my day."
Or let's simplify it. You're frustrated every single day at work. When you get out from what gets you through the day is knowing that when you get out from work, you're gonna go kill one of those motherfuckers. There you go,
That would be a
coping mechanism.
It's
Okay.
an unhealthy coping mechanism.
I'm not justifying it.
Right.
I'm
I'm just gonna get an official definition of what coping is.
Coping mechanisms. Yeah. Okay.
Keep talking.
Sucking your thumb
So
is a
be it.
coping mechanism.
That is true.
So
Sleeping is
It's more of a habit, really, than a coping mechanism.
But
like
if
a
you
coping
find
mechanism,
comfort-
yeah, it is. Here's the thing. So like we're still missing the point. The point is, it's only there to help you get through this moment so that you can fix the situation. So society needs a lot of healthy coping mechanisms, which it doesn't have.
Right. So, what are some healthy coping mechanisms?
Well, I would just like to say I looked up the definition. All it does say is that it is a behavior that gives psychological comfort. So technically, I guess you're right.
Okay.
Killing could
Okay.
technically.
Oh, that was right.
Weird how often that happens.
That was. Did you see it? That was
But
assault.
that's another coping mechanism.
All right, so healthy coping mechanisms.
So, what are healthy coping mechanisms? Video games can be it. Eating can be it. It's all about moderation. So anything within moderation, well, almost anything within moderation, because we could go back to that.
Gonna take a little finger, but it's moderate. Don't worry.
Well, and that's the thing. There's people who. So speaking about weird coping mechanisms, have you ever heard of the people who, I don't remember the name of the disease or whatever, where they feel that they were meant to be an amputee, so they chop off a leg in order to cope? Because they feel...
They identify
Yes.
as a disabled amputee.
So
Yes,
they have
I've heard
to
of
do
this.
that in order to cope.
It's another body dysmorphic
I feel
problem.
I feel like that's probably not a good coping mechanism.
No!
I would agree
Yeah,
with
he's just
you.
giving examples. So,
Exactly.
A healthy coping mechanism would be Jan in college doing a Sudoku to get through and understanding the math or whatever you were going through. You know, puzzles. Another good one.
Yeah.
Whatever, is, puzzles, Sudoku.
Crack cocaine.
That's not a healthy coping mechanism.
In moderation. But I mean, like, even this could technically be a cope. Like, I think for me, this honestly has helped me with all the stuff going on in my life. This really, it's what I look forward to every week. So, like, this
So
is
talking.
a cope. Yes, talking can be its own
I'm
coping
gonna
mechanism.
say one. Weed.
Yes, yeah.
True.
Let's think about it. It's a drug, yeah. It's a... okay, so it's not natural anymore. The shit we're smoking, let's be honest, that shit ain't natural. It hasn't grown in that strength ever. We've crossbred the fuck out of it in order to maximize the amount of oomph into it. But it can't really hurt you unless you have asthma. And if you have asthma, eat it.
Well, what if you get COVID?
How?
Well, all the stuff right now is that one of the contributing factors that can lead to COVID being serious is smoking. Because it
Gotcha.
affects your lungs.
Well, eat it.
It's what edibles.
Asthma.
Bro.
Asthma covered it.
I
So
got you.
just eat it.
But it's only a healthy coping mechanism if it's legal in your area.
Fuck them.
Well, I mean, if you go to jail for it.
You can't.
Okay, never mind.
I think
I'm
there's
sorry.
only one state where it would
retract my
happen.
You can go to jail for weed in Wisconsin. I know plenty of people who.
How long ago was it?
Not that long ago. A couple of years ago, maybe.
There you go. Not within this year. I guarantee you, it nowhere in the U.S. There's one state in the U.S. where it might be possible to go to jail over. No, it's I always get the names messed up. It's
Maryland, New
it's
Hampshire,
Nevada,
Connecticut. Is
Rhode
that?
Island.
Massachusetts.
It's either Rhode Island or one of those that it's like super horrible against weed. That might be the only place in the U.S. that you might go to jail. Everywhere else, it's to the point where it would not make it to that level. You might get fined or some
You
kind
get
of...
fined, the cops will confiscate, and then the cops will smoke it. So
Basically.
I don't know.
I'm willing to bet money and do it myself.
I guess.
No, like, I'm
Yeah.
serious. Because it is
Alright.
to such a point that it could easily be taken to federal court and just thrown out.
Yeah, but still federally, it's not.
I know. But
Okay, so-
there's so many precedents for it, and the way law work is when you're arguing, you quote another precedent. So there's
Right.
been so many other precedents that they could be like, here's a book of reasons why you cannot,
Right.
Go ahead.
So back to coping mechanisms. So, right, weed can be one, right, in moderation. Because
It can
people
rule your
could-
life.
Exactly. People could smoke way too much and then never want to get off the couch.
Yeah, I mean, couch
Too
lock is a
relaxed.
legit thing.
Just smoke some stevia. You'll be fine. It'll
What?
make you want to get up.
Yeah.
Indica
Wait,
stevia.
stevia, like,
Sativa.
wait, no, I don't
Sativa.
Sativa is an artificial,
Yeah.
artificial
Also,
sweetener.
okay, hold on.
So
So
what
we're
is it
talking
called?
about like
So-
different
sativa.
strands.
Sativa.
So the way you remember is S for not sleepy.
And then
Indica is the stuff that will put you to sleep.
Gotcha.
So couch lock is a legit thing, which is but I still stand by what she said. Everything in moderation, because you can smoke too much and just not want to do anything. That is a legit issue with weed. like the whole thing about going out and murdering people, dude, you're gonna be so hungry and so tired that you're not gonna have the strength to hurt anybody.
I've got a story about this. So I had a friend who was super against.
Was it a friend, huh?
This time it was a friend who was super against it. He's like, no, it's a drug. It chemically alters your brain. It's bad for you. And then one day, I don't know, like something snapped. And he just started smoking. He's like, oh my gosh, dude, I apologize. And then he quit his job and became a drug dealer. And
Wow, okay, I didn't go
That's
that
a little
that's a little
extreme.
extreme. But he quit his job, became a drug dealer, and then he was like, I gotta get out of this. And so he went out of it and he got back to a real job. And he's like, man, fuck that, I'm not making nearly enough money. So that was his weird little coping mechanism, was smoking weed.
Yeah.
Making a ton of money while doing it, and then like, no. Moderation. I'm gonna go back and get a real job.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So I personally have a couple. So I have video games. Lately it's been a little bit more than anything else because I can't afford to do the other one. So, and I mean, everybody's looking forward to Cyberpunk because that's going to be the greatest escapism for everybody in the world. So I guarantee you, for the month of November after the 19th, crimes will go down, teen pregnancies will go down, everything will go down. However, pizza delivery rates will go up. Junk food. If you want to if you want a stock tip, buy stock in Domino's, Pizza Hut, Cheetos, Doritos, which by the way I already bought stock in Domino's, so we're good.
Yes.
Oh my
There you go.
I'm telling you. So anyway,
telling us.
video games are huge.
Yes. Especially in today's culture.
Also for me, music. I love just being able to just drift away into the melodies and music and like the little worlds it creates.
Television can be one. That was mine for years, but again, it can become an issue because you just want to,
Yep.
I have binged so many series. Like, it's to a point where it's like, I've seen everything on Netflix.
When it gets bad is when you have multiple intersecting coping mechanisms, like watching TV and binge eating.
Yes. that is
just a disaster or the worst combination ever would be weed, binge eating, and TV.
Shit.
That is literally a recipe to be stuck.
Damn it.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, and the thing about it is, you got to remember, even if you have an unhealthy coping mechanism, you can find your way out of it, but you have to be able to find another coping mechanism that gets you out of it. Like,
so the big important thing is coping mechanism is just there to dull the pain.
Yeah.
Your real goal is to fix the issue that's requiring you to have a coping mechanism.
Well, and I will say one thing that as I've grown and learned, the biggest thing that has helped me is, like you said, just dealing with the problem rather than putting it off and thinking about it. Like, okay, spend a little bit of time feeling bad for yourself. It's like, yes, feel what you need to feel, but then, you know what? I need to do something about this. Let's get on it,
Mm-hmm. Well, and so if it's a matter about feeling things, there's so much bullshit in this world with the whole idea that men can't cry and that you can't feel feelings. That's such horseshit. And so I feel like half the time the reason people are so frustrated is because they have all these pent up emotions that they just need to fucking yell or scream or kick something, you know?
The best thing that my therapist told me was, like, several times a week, just set aside like an hour to cry.
Yep.
I don't understand how people can do that, though.
So so that's another, I should, with a caveat, everything in moderation. As I don't know if you remember, we watched that thing where any therapy that has you beat things or express anger is really counterproductive.
Yes. Yep.
So there is everything in moderation.
Yeah.
Like being able to have a bit of time to like cry or feel sad about something is fine, But what you're describing sounds like forced crying sessions and
Like,
It depends on if
yeah.
you've got something worth crying about.
well, yeah, but not if you don't though.
Yeah, no. Obviously, if you don't, then you really don't have a reason to
Punch
like,
yourself
fight
in the
something.
balls.
Yeah. But like,
But
I mean,
how
like, if
often
you're-
do you fight crying? How
Yeah.
often do you avoid crying from something that hurt you? Because right now is not the
Hurt you,
appropriate time to
You
cry.
kicked me out of your house 3 times.
I did
today.
not. I
You
threatened.
threatened me. You told me to get out.
Honestly, my biggest issue is that when I feel like crying, I can't stop it. Like I can be all like, okay, no, but then it's still gonna come out one way or another. So I've never been able to not display my emotion, which is,
Gotcha.
you know, in and of itself.
Yeah.
Well, and that's, I've had to go from like some of the saddest deaths to taking care of more patients. And like that really isn't a good time to cry because
Yes.
you've got people to take
Yeah.
care of. So you wait until you get in the car and then you turn on the sad music and you just cry the whole way home. And then you feel better.
Yeah, I guess I do understand that. You know.
Tears are just pain leaving the body.
Exactly. Totally agree.
Pain is just weakness leaving the body. Anyway, the biggest coping mechanism I think humans have ever created would be religion. But just like, because I mean, you think about all the people who get everything they need from, I have a God, I pray, I do all these things, and like all of that goes into coping. You know, prayer is just meditation that with a focus.
And a cracker at the end.
And a cracker at the end, yes, and a little bit of
Cracker
juice.
and
And some wine. I was going to say, we can't forget the wine.
God,
I
this
never
is the
got
blood
wine.
of Christ.
You just
Man,
got
you
the
must have been
ground.
loaded.
Loaded 24/7. Yeah, but I mean, like, I think that is a good example of, religion can show you good coping mechanisms because meditating is a great coping mechanism because you sit there in your thoughts and you just clear your mind.
And so, meditation. More people should do it. And, okay, you don't have to call it meditation because I know plenty of people
Call
that...
it quiet time.
So, there's plenty of people that hear the word meditation and they just start thinking about hippies and fucking weirdos with long hair and, they're very against that. No, you don't have to think about it that way. There's many cultures that have meditation in some form. I mean...
In fact, honestly, I would say almost prayer is a meditation.
It is.
It is.
Because that's what they're doing. They're focusing on something
Well,
and
the whole thing, so there's like 7 types of meditation. I could have that number wrong, but so chanting or prayer is one, and the whole point of it is you're saying things that you know by memory, so you don't have to actively think about it. It's just it's a chant that literally just keeps going, and your brain just shuts down. I love Zen meditation because it's probably the more badass one. It's where you basically sit in a very uncomfortable position and somebody beats you with a stick and you try not to yell from the pain or think about anything.
That's his favorite.
This was also represented in Christian society too. They would beat themselves.
Yeah,
I
the
know. Self-flogging
Yep.
or whatever.
I thought it was flagellation.
Yes, flagellation or something.
Yeah, that's it.
Martin Luther was one of
It's
them.
not flatulation.
That's farting, isn't it?
Could that be a coping mechanism?
Yes.
Sex could be a coping mechanism.
Yeah. There's a lot of sex addicts that do it just for that reason. They feel nothing from it.
But I just feel like ultimately this conversation comes down to is that you need to recognize whether or not what you're doing is a coping mechanism, whether you're overdoing it, like whatever.
Whether you're using it to escape,
Yes.
or whether you're using it to just deal with this moment so that you can work on it later.
Yes.
And so it comes back to mental health, a lot of it, getting to know yourself. So many people, again, they go to religion because they're so terrified of looking within.
Yes.
They just have to be told everything and they have to
want
be
somebody
given...
else to take care of the problem.
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, a coping mechanism, all it's there for is to help you get through those minutes so that you can move on and deal with shit. So, I play games to escape from hardships and moments where, I don't know what else to do. So, after that, I try and find a reason. I find it funny that so many people are like frustrated with their everyday life and whatnot, but yet they have a firm goal that they're working towards, and I've never had that. And I am very jealous of those people because, yeah, they get frustrated from things regarding their goal, but at least they have a direction.
Right.
I feel like it's way harder not to have a direction to be going in.
Yeah, it is. That is a big driving factor of humans, is needing something to give us purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And again, most things humans do are literally to give us some kind of purpose. You could even, And that's when I think coping becomes unhealthy, is when your coping becomes your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I always like to think that earliest man didn't have time for coping mechanisms.
And so
I agree and disagree with this.
here's the thing with early man. They did have their moments for it, but yeah, no, you're right. For the most part, they were too busy
Trying to
living
survive,
and
yeah.
surviving
But I
to...
mean, think about the things they were doing. They were all communal things, whether it was hunting, gathering, and then at the end of the day, you would spend time with your loved ones or family around a fire, dancing, singing, doing all those kinds of tribal things. And those in and of themselves,
I guarantee you there was a lot less of the dancing and singing than you think.
See, I don't know, because like you even look at the indigenous cultures of America, they had a lot of traditions based around
That happened
dancing
during
and
certain
singing.
parts of the
Right.
season. That didn't happen every day.
Not every day, no, but I mean,
So, you want to grab her. So a lot of the
Making a
thing,
guest appearance.
a lot of the whole thing with it is humans used to be terrified of the dark. That's a huge factor. So you're taking that into consideration. As soon as it started getting dark, people went into their cave, their hut, whatever home they had. They lit a fire and they fucking stayed still. They weren't loud. They didn't want to attract any animals, especially if they were in areas with, big cats and stuff like that. So that kills a lot of communication, a lot of that. Now, they might have had special gatherings when they were there in number, because, numbers take away all our fears for some reason. It's like, if you gather enough people, the whole mob mentality is like, fuck it, you know?
And that is a real thing.
But at the end of the day, during the day, when there's light and when there's more possibility for those interactions to happen, they would have been busy doing things. Now, once they started planting, we talked about this before, that's when they had a little bit more time to actually talk.
Right.
Because when they were working the field, they could talk and share songs and all that. Or when they were hunting, they couldn't make noise because they'd spook their thing. And plus,
Well, I would, so I listened to a story about a guy who lived with hunter-gatherers for a while, and what they would do was the hunters would go out in a group and they would chase down these baboons and stuff and hunt them. So, I mean, you think about they're getting exercise because they are full-on sprinting the entire time they're hunting, because they're not just staying in a tree and hunt. They're literally tracking it down until it is exhausted, and then they kill it. So they're getting exercise and they're out there. They all celebrate the kill and all those kinds of things. And I could see how those could be the coping mechanisms, just like the working out.
sure.
It's working off all that tension.
And so a lot of, there's been a couple papers on it that part of the reason we, as modern society, need so many, what is the word I'm looking for? So many
Active activities.
distractions or synthetic coping mechanisms is because we miss those hunting days, those hunting gatherings. That was such an integral part of our lives. Now we don't have to do that. And so now we have all this extra time, which we have no idea what to do. And so it starts, you have a couple routes to go. You either go through drugs, you go to religion, or you go to like science and, introspective and all the above. Or I suppose there's a fourth, you have kids.
Yeah.
And then you don't have time. And so many people have kids for that reason. They need that distraction. They complain about it, but they're grateful to have it.
Well, and one that we didn't mention, though, is hunting in and of itself.
Yeah, but you were an accident, so.
Hunting in and of itself is its own coping mechanism. I know so many guys that I work with at the foundry who it's like, that's their main thing. Going out to the woods, being alone, whether it's fishing, hunting, shooting anything, like, as long as they get to be in the woods with nature, that is where they're like, it's like, that's my religion, basically. And it's like, that is how you cope with the world. It's like, my wife was being a bitch, so I went and I killed a deer, and I spent all day out in the woods.
Well, and the whole idea of fishing, I've never really gotten it. I don't enjoy fishing because all it is you're sitting out there in a boat or on the side of the lake or wherever, waiting for something to happen.
But you get to be out in nature, chilling, talking to people.
On the water.
I could do that without the fishing pole.
You're right, and I agree. I think the main reason I really liked fishing growing up is because the guy I had a crush on loved fishing, and I would go fishing with him all the time. It'd be just me and him in these remote areas, like
Gotcha.
just me and you, just fishing. But yeah, like ever since
It wasn't about the fishing.
Right, it was about the company,
Exactly.
and that's the big thing for me is my biggest thing is I enjoy company. I love being around people. And so doing anything that,
But the thing though is usually fishing is such a quiet activity that it doesn't lend itself to even company.
It depends on what kind of fishing you're doing. If you are an extreme sportsman and you're just out there to be out there, yeah, then you're probably alone anyway. But if you're just out there with friends, you're going into the water swimming, you are exploring the river.
Yeah, but if you're going into the water, you're not fishing.
Yeah, but you can still fish.
I get what you're saying. You're making a day of it.
Right.
But that's not fishing. You're just talking about water activities at this point.
Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it's
No.
That's not what he's saying.
No, what I'm saying is, what he's talking about is having a fun day at the lake. And that I understand. What I don't understand is the gung-ho fucking quiet shit.
I guess...
I get, so don't get me wrong, I understand like fly fishing, which is a zen activity, because it's all about perfect, quiet, being one with the water, And I get that as a meditation thing, but I don't really get it in the sense of just sitting by a lake catching fish that half of them you have to throw back anyway.
Well,
if you think about it, so, you're responsible for something and you're accomplishing something, but it's not something that takes a lot of mental energy.
Exactly, and so I feel like fishing is just lying to yourself, because it makes you think like you're... No, hear me out.
I'll hear you out, but I
So,
got counter.
fishing is just lying to yourself because you think like you're accomplishing something, you're doing an activity, whereas the actual point is to be there in your own thoughts and relax. I could do that with a cigar and a nice whiskey, and I don't need an excuse.
Yeah,
I can do the same thing.
Well, there are many men who do need that excuse, and I know several of them. But the other thing about fishing is it does get very technical. What kind of bait are you going to use? What kind of hook are you going to use? What kind of leader? What kind of are you going to use a spinner? Are you going to use a triple
You're
hook?
making
Right.
more arguments towards my point of it's an excuse.
But I don't think
All
it
that is a distraction from the real point.
I don't know. I mean, maybe, but I don't think it is, because like a lot of the guys who love going fishing, it's not just a distraction. It is something that it's like they feel one with nature. It's a game, a competition, who can get more fish, So
you're just saying the same thing I'm
but
saying.
I don't think they're lying to themselves.
No, they are in a way, but they're not. It's not like they're consciously lying to themselves. They're just doing it to pass
that's like
the time.
saying the person who exercises is lying to themselves.
Well, no, because usually exercise is something that you make the active decision to change your body.
Okay.
Whereas fishing, it's like, I want to be quiet in nature, but it'd be gay to go do that. Just sit on a rug and hear me out. I'm talking from the perspective of a gay.
Yes, I completely understand.
It's too gay to go sit in the wild and not do anything. So I need this manly thing that's gonna kill something.
Wow.
See, I don't know. I disagree, because I think that there are a lot of guys, like my stepfather was one. He was a very outdoorsy guy. He loved just going out into the woods and just being in the woods. He didn't, like, one of his favorite things to do was going out west and just taking pictures. Like, he loved hunting, but he would also sometimes just take a camera and just take pictures of the elk, because he's like, I love it out here. And for introverted men who live in the country, grew up on a farm, like, that is their escape,
And I think it's very unfair for you to say those like very rude and judgmental things about somebody else's form of coping. Just because you don't understand the pleasure somebody else gets from it doesn't give you the right to say they're just lying to themselves.
Well,
Because I don't think that's
I
fair.
guess from that perspective, you could say that the Hicks who do enjoy hunting would say the same things about, gaming or anything like that. They'd be like, well, that's just gay and
Exactly.
stupid. You're just sitting
They're
there
lying
doing
to
nothing. You're
themselves.
just
They
lying.
can't shoot
Yes.
somebody in real life.
Except I have facts behind me and they just have opinions.
Not all Hicks are stupid.
Wow, yours are just opinions too. Because I
show me a
completely
smart
disagree
pig.
about
Well,
fishing.
I I don't know. There are so many people I know at the Foundry who are hickier than hick, but they do so many things I can never do.
So on the topic of hicks, the city girls who dress up in cowboy boots and short shorts that go out of these country USA and country, is that their form of coping mechanism? Is that their way of coping
with city life?
I got exactly what you're talking about. Have you ever heard of a dude ranch?
No.
Oh, I think I know.
So
what you're
a dude
talking about.
ranch is literally a working ranch out in the working pastures where city folk pay lots of money.
That's right.
They come and pretend to be cowboys or farm people.
Right.
Yeah.
And like they just struggle through it, and that's their vacation. Like,
well,
that would be such as actually no, I would love to have one of those because I'd be making money hand over fist to have them clean my shit for me. Fuck
dream,
yeah!
My dream has always been to set up, like, go get a giant ranch and set up little cities and have a completely, like, full-on 1 week thing where people come out and they get to, like, live in medieval or western or whatever kind of society, and you get horses, you have different towns, we even have a stage town you can burn down. Like, I mean, come on.
Find a ghost town.
There you go. Yeah, buy a ghost
It already has everything, and you just gotta populate it.
So one of the other coping mechanisms I see quite a bit are people who have horses. And they do that as like a hobby. From what I've heard from them, it is very therapeutic because not only do they get the opportunity to ride, but they get to care for it, and like even just the simple tasks of brushing the horse. I mean, that is such a repetitive movement, and scientifically,
and there's a lot to it.
Right, and scientifically, repetitive movements actually cause us to release things like serotonin and endorphins.
Well, and the other thing is that, from what I've heard, a lot of people who spend a lot of time with horses, they're like, no, you don't understand. They're not just an animal. They are intelligent. They will try and trick you in every moment they can, but every horse has their own personality.
So, somebody that has horses, they were describing them as giant dogs.
Yes.
Like, apparently they're that playful and that loyal to their human and that kind of stuff, which I've never actually been around horses. For most of my childhood, I was terrified of them. Well, they're that big, and they could step on you. Although I heard that they are actually they're very intelligent and avoid stepping on people.
Yep.
Well, I don't know. I
was gonna say, the horse doesn't like you.
I went to one of my friend's little hobby farms, and she has 3 huge horses. I can never remember what they're called, but they're not Clydesdales. They're a specific working horse for like farms and stuff, but it's not the Clydesdale. But they were ginormous, but they were so sweet. Like, she's like, yeah, come out and say hi. And I'm like, oh my God, these things are huge. Because I saw her mini ponies first, and I was like, yeah, I can handle that. And then I see these huge, giant horses, and, like, one of them just came up to me and, like, just laid his head on my shoulder and was like, you should just give me scratches. It was so amazing.
And then you have the old ones who like to bite people and, like, just leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah, but usually there's like reason for horses that are acting like that. They're either in pain or they've been mistreated.
Or they're stubborn.
Well,
I mean, I'd bite people if I could get away with it.
Most of the time, unless you are breeding them specifically for running or something like that, you're not going to breed the horse that's a dick.
Yeah.
So, one way or another, humans have also altered horses' personalities to make them more compatible with us so we can use them as coping mechanisms.
Pets are kind of coping mechanisms. For those of us who decide we don't want children, okay, we'll invest into a pet.
Yeah, and then again, when you get to the moderation, you end up with hoarders with, 600 cats.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
But there's been studies that, like, for cats and stress and pets in general, like, it is I mean, if you think about a dog, it's just something that you can throw all your love at, and it'll throw it back at you.
Absolutely. Well, and that's the thing. Like, the welcoming committee we get with just 3 dogs, I mean, they are always happy to see you, even if you just step outside for 30 seconds. 30 seconds, they come back, and they're like, oh my God, I thought you were never coming back. We missed you.
Yeah, yep.
My tarantulas do the same thing.
Oh, stop it.
Gotcha.
Tarantulas are evil. They are from Satan, sir. They're as bad as bats.
I'll look right at their, little cages.
And they'll wave at you.
And I'll start talking, and
I'll
then
look at all
they'll
their
start
eyeballs.
walking towards my voice, and I'm like, hey, buddy, I'm not going to take you
We have
out.
a guest speaker today. His name is Hubert.
I think he's just more of a guest linker, but
Mm-hmm.
but yeah,
Vote for Mabel.
coping.
Yeah. So I basically, to sum up, in moderation, not let it become an escape. Keep your eye on the goal, which is trying to fix the issue from
Yes.
which you are trying to, escape for the moment.
And try not to be too judgmental of other people's coping mechanisms.
No, judge
And
them
understand
harshly.
that everybody has their own type.
Also, know that that's just an opinion.
That's just like your opinion, man. But that's how does society.
Yeah.
I love how we end with dogs.
I know. I'm just like attacked by.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed the conversation, come and meet us again, and like, subscribe, share, leave us a comment. We really want to hear about your feedback, and hit that little bell for us, and you can get updates every Friday for when we put out a new video.